tonight we're going to do a quick review on what you learned with percents in 6th grade. In 6th grade, you had to solve simple percent problems within context. So that's our objective tonight. I can solve simple percent problems within context. That means within a word problem. It says, of the 25 girls on the Alden Middle School soccer team, 40% also play on a travel team. How many of the girls on the middle school team also play on a travel team? Last year, you probably started talking about percents using your tape diagrams. You did a lot of that last year. So the first method I'd like to look at is a tape diagram. We used them with fractions earlier this school year. Now we're going to go ahead and use them with percents. So there's 25 girls on the soccer team. And we always know, if we know our total goes on the bottom. So that's 25 girls, right? And we know 40% of those girls also play on a travel team. So here's what I do. You could break it up into 10%. 10, 20, 30, 40, 50, 60, 70, 80, 90, 100. I'm going to go by 20% just to make my life a little bit easier. So this is 20%. That first block would represent 20%. Once we get through the first 2 blocks, we're up to 40%. 3 blocks would get us to 60%. 4 blocks would get us to 80%, going by 20%. And then the entire total would be 100%. And what we have to figure out is what 40% of 25 girls is. So let's see, when we went by 20%, 20, 40, 60, 80, 100, that means we break our tape diagram into 5 parts. And that makes sense because 20% is the same as 20 over 100. That's 2 over 10. That's divide top and bottom by 2. That's 1/5. So 20% is exactly the same as 1/5. So we would have known 40% would have been 2/5. So we would have known earlier this school year when we dealt with fractions to break it into 5 parts. Same exact situation. So now, because we know we broke our tape diagram into 5 parts, you do 25 divided by 5. That means there's 5 girls in each little part. 5, 10, 15, 20, 25 to get us up to 100%. We want to know what 40% would be. That means 10 girls also play travel soccer. Hopefully you remember from last year using those tape diagrams within percent problems as well as when you're dealing with fraction problems. You may have done percent equation last year. We're definitely going to do percent equation this year. So I just want to show you a second method. Same problem, but now we're going to use the percent equation. For our percent equation, it's part equals percent times the whole. The word what means X. The word is means equals. The word of means multiply. You're going to see that happening a lot within percent equation problems. And you must remember to change your percent to a decimal or fraction to use this method. So if we know part equals percent written as a fraction or decimal times the whole, that's what I'm going to do. Do I have the entire amount of girls? Yes. Of means multiply. So of the 25 girls, multiply by the 25 girls. On the soccer team, 40% also play on a travel team. 40%. So 40% as a decimal. 40% would be 40 over 100. That would be 4/10. What's 4/10 as a decimal? 0.4. That's 4 in the tens place. So I would change that percent to a decimal and do 0.4 times 25 equals the part that play on the travel team. And so I'm going to do 25 times 0.4. So I do 25 times 0.4. 4 times 5 is 20. 4 times 2 is 8, 9, 10. Move our decimal point over 1 place. This is a good reminder. So the part that play on the travel soccer team are 10 girls. So you could use your tape diagram or you could use the percent equation, which we are going to be using as 7th graders. You can back it up with a tape diagram, but I need you to also be able to handle using the percent equation. Let's take a look at the second problem. In Miss Perron's class, 75% of the students are boys. There's 18 boys in the class. What is the total number of students in the class? So last year you probably made a tape diagram. First of all, when we're talking about 75%, I know like right here would be 0%. Then I could do 25%, 50%, 75%, 100%, 75%. 75% is 75 over 100. Divide top and bottom by 25. And you come up with 3/4. So you know 75% as a fraction was 3/4. So earlier this year when we studied dealing with fractions and tape diagrams, 3/4 means we'd break the total into 1, 2, 3, 4 parts, and we would care about 3 out of those 4 parts. Now there's 18 boys in the class. I'm looking for the total number. So do I know the total in the class? I don't know the total. But I know 75% of them are boys and there's 18 boys. So I know 75% of the total is 18. So if 3/4 is 18, what would go in each box? What would I divide the 18 by to go in each box? Oh, I divide 18 by 3 because 3 out of the 4 parts represent those 18 boys. 18 divided by 3 is 6. That means we go ahead and we put 6 in each box. What's the total? 6 times 4, or 24 students are in the class. And that's how you probably went about this problem last year, which is awesome. You always want a graphic in your mind to work off of. I think it makes math problems so much easier. I now want to show you as 7th graders how we'll handle it. We're going to use our percent equation. Part equals percent times whole, or percent times the total. So 75% of the boys. You must remember to change your percent to a fraction or decimal. So 75%, 75 over 100, divide top and bottom by 25, 3/4. 3/4 is the same as 0.75. All you do is a quick way to change your percent to a decimal, which is for some reason how I always do it. You could deal with the 3/4. You just take away the percent sign, move the decimal point away from the percent sign. So if your decimal point starts at the end of the number and you take away the percent sign, therefore you move the decimal point 2 places away from the percent sign. Or you take 75 divided by 100 and get 0.75 as a decimal. So if I have part equals percent written as a decimal times the whole, I say to myself, okay, what am I looking for? I'm looking for the total or the whole, so I'm going to call that x. So here I have 0.75, writing my percent as a decimal. You could have chosen to write it as 3/4, equals the part that are boys. So the 18 boys is the part. And we just finished an entire unit on equations and inequalities. So how could I solve for x? Well, 0.75 is being multiplied by x, which means I divide both sides by 0.75. Bottom out, 0.75 goes into 18. If I have to move my decimal point 2 places over on the outside, it means I have to move my decimal point 2 places over on the inside. So my new division is 75 into 1800. Move that decimal point right up. How many times does 75 go into 180? That's going to be twice. 2 times 75 is 150. Subtract off. You're left with 30. Bring down your 0. You may use a calculator to help you. I just didn't bring one home. 75 times what is 300? 75 times 4. 5 times 4 is 20. 7 times 4 is 28, 29, 30. So that's 300. Subtract that off. And again, we come up with x equals 24 students. And this, oops, sorry about that. Let me go back. Sorry about that. In this one, you may have chosen to use the fraction. Then it would have been 18 equals 3/4 times x. You would have divided both sides by 3/4. 3/4. If you had 18 divided by 3/4, that's 18 times 4/3. Oh, 18 times 4. I was like, why is this not working out? 18 times 4. I'd have to do that. 18 times 4. Oh, you know what I'll do? I'll simplify first. 3 goes into 3 once. 3 goes into 18 6 times. 6 times 4 is still 24. So 24 would still equal x. It's a bit of a mess. And I know right now it might feel like the tape diagram is the easiest method to handle, but soon we're going to be doing equations that involve, or percent problems that involve 28%. And so then it's harder to figure out how to break up your tape diagram, or 34%. And then it's harder. Are you going to break it up into 100 parts? So percent equation is we're going to find is a more efficient method. There's 2 additional problems that were posted on your homework for tonight. If you choose to do those problems, you can earn yourself bonus points. Try to have a good night. Take care.